Don't you love technology? Okay, and now I'm going to do comment just to kind of open the comments. Hi, and turn off the sound and ignore them because my attention is on you guys. About 50 seconds. Or maybe a little less. Tananarive, I have given you co-host. Wake up. Absolutely. Yeah, this morning I actually let myself sleep late. I had a tough workout week. But welcome to Fire Dance. I'm your host, Steve Barnes, creator of Life Writing and Fire Dance and the Magic Formula and other technologies. And I'm also a novelist and martial artist and husband and father. And those are the things that kind of describe the space that I live in. And we're having a discussion about creating a space that allows you to create the life that you want. I don't know exactly the specifics of your goals, but I do know that what all human beings want is to move away from pain toward pleasure. That's all living things want that. And raised to the level of the human, I think that we could say that it is to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. So everyone's on there on that level someplace. And we're going to have some discussions about how that path relates to creating the life that we want. But before we do that, I would love for people to unmute yourselves and to say hi to each other.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hi to
good
each
afternoon,
other.
everyone.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Hello. Good morning. Good
Hello. Always glad to see everybody.
Good around.
Great, 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 great. Tananarive, are you there? You are there, sweetheart. Say
Hello.
howdy.
Hi, everybody. Let me adjust this a little bit. Good to see everyone. That's my cat
And the
Ginger.
kitty's there too.
Actually, my son's cat Ginger. And good to see everybody.
And so I guess that one of the things that I could do is kind of start with, did we announce that it was our 26th anniversary on the 1st of August, sweetheart? Did we talk about
I
that
don't
in Fire Dance?
remember. I mean, were we on that day?
No, we were not on that day, but we were on last week.
We might have forgotten. But yes,
Yeah,
we
we
had
might
a
have forgotten.
big
Anniversary.
anniversary.
Yeah, we did. And we have not celebrated it as much as we often do, but we're going to be going to Chautauqua, New York next week for what is it, to talk a little bit about the award that you're receiving there, sweetheart?
Did not know much about the Chautauqua Award. Apparently, Chautauqua runs a series of very well-known writers' workshops in upstate New York. Was it last year or in the past couple of years? Salman Rushdie won a Chautauqua Award, and when you win, you give a speech. And in his speech, someone tried to stab him. So even if you've never heard of the award, you've heard about the time somebody tried to stab him, and that was where that was. Hoping that won't happen for my speech. I doubt it. And but
I'll be there, honey.
highly regarded award. Like when they called, the committee called, and I thought, oh, this is a big deal. So it's fun.
Wonderful. So as I've said, next Saturday took a look at the flight arrangements. There's no way for me to arrange things to be here next Saturday, but what I can do is we're going to do this on Friday, uh, and we'll work out the times so that it'll be after people's work times, and then we will do the. I'm going to record this. Do I record on this computer? Record to the cloud. Record to the cloud. And we will have the link, the fire dance will then go to the replay so that people who show up next Saturday looking for us, I will try to communicate via the email list and so forth and Facebook. But if you didn't get that, then you'll be able to. So looking at life right now, I think that the easiest thing to do is to bring in what's actually going on and then talk about how these different techniques and technologies and perspectives and philosophies are contributing to this. I have my imposter voice sounding off big time because tomorrow I have to go and present to the Black Karate Federation, the gathering of my tribe of warriors, including my elders, and oh my God, and Steve Muhammad asked me to do it. I mean, I've done it before at other gatherings, but this one feels a little special to me. It feels because it's here local, where the organization began, and this will be a completion of an entire cycle of my life, becoming a tribal elder in that sense. I want to focus on how they can apply their martial skills in other arenas of their lives. But in order to do that, the first thing I have to do is establish who I am in the sense of actually the martial arts. So there's not going to be any way to avoid that. I'm going to have to do it once I've done it. And that means, choosing a couple of tough young warriors and dropping them. Once I have done that, then they believe me. And then I can just talk about how to take these physical skills and turn them into something else. Stephen Bauer says there's a website. The website is I'm going to type it in, www.realheroesjourney.com. Okay. What I'm going to be, those of us who want to change the world have to look for a lever to do it. And I feel like that's what I want, and that this book is my lever. The beautiful thing about digital is that if I do this right, I'll be able to both sell the book, and I want to sell 1 million copies of it, and give it away for free to deserving groups. So I can actually have a social impact. If I know that this book works properly, I can have a social impact. I can literally take $10,000 and have $100 scholarship contest at, what is that, 100 different schools where people read the book and write an essay on how they'd apply the book to improving their lives. And the winner gets $100. You could make an impact in the world with stuff like that. So I'm asking the people on this call who show up every Saturday, get a copy of it, which you can get at www.realheroesjourney.com. If you cannot afford it, if you're going through a financial emergency, send me an email. It's digital. I can push a button and send you a copy. But this offer is only for people who are on this call, who are part of the tribe. In that sense, it is because I want you to grow, and because I want your feedback, and I don't want money to stand in your way. So that is a direct and honest offer to you. I'll give it away to you if that's what you need. Otherwise, it's only $20, and I've put a lifetime of work into it. So the initial comments I've gotten have been spectacular, and I'm really, really happy with that. But I do need my tribe to help me understand what is needed for greater clarity, what is needed for better communication. So if you will help me with that, that would be absolutely fantastic. So let's see, there was a quote that I wanted to read, and let me find it here. I need to and I might actually be able to put it on the screen. Yeah, I think I can. Weekly Fire Dance. There's that quote. Now let me put this on the screen. Okay. So this is a quote from the book. It says, "Who you are," and you'll notice that the formatting is a little off. I'm still improving the formatting because the book is both a downloadable PDF and a link to the dynamic document, so I can continue to edit. Who you are is the person who would do the necessary tasks every day, the person who has the confidence and the discipline to perform these ritual actions every single day. And you are willing to do this for long enough to allow yourself to learn the game so that the results can kick in. Remember, if you've been going in the wrong direction for a long time, it's going to take some time to turn the Titanic around. Give yourself time. The question is to get clear. If you look at the magic formula, need a map or model. You can't have a map or model unless you're clear on where you want to go. And then once you know where you want to go, you find other people who've already accomplished your goal, preferably starting from where you started, and do what they did, figure out their syntax. This is vastly harder than it sounds because the part of you that knows that if you continue down a particular road, you're going to change, you're going to evolve, can be afraid of death. It can be afraid of dissolution, especially if it's a false ego self. So what will happen is that you'll change the recipe a little bit. And I notice that if I say, okay, do these 6 steps and you'll get published. You write a sentence a day, you write 1 to 4 short stories a month, you finish and submit one, you don't rewrite except to editorial request, you read 10 times what you write, and you repeat this pattern 100 times, okay? To me, on the other side of it, that seems simple. Obviously, it's not simple. Because at every one of those steps, people would say, sometime I want to write more than a sentence, or sometime I don't have time. And we stop and we answer those things. The most common thing is people will say, well, I'm working on a book, or my ideas come out in the form of a book. Well, that's fine. But the discipline of working on short stories, or if you're working on a nonfiction path, articles, I suppose, is critical. The natural thing that people will do is to, if you do all 6 of those steps, you have a chain that will take you all the way to not just selling, but constantly improving yourself as a writer. If you have anything inside you that is nervous about that, negative voices from your past, you're going to find some way to not do one of those 6 steps. The usual thing people will do is to work on projects that are really long, so they're working on it for a very long time, sometimes years, and then by the time they've done that, they have this piece that if it doesn't sell, it breaks their heart, as opposed to writing couple dozen short stories, each one of which only has a little bit of your ego involved in it. So when you get rejected, it's no big thing. Or they will write stories and not submit them, or they will submit them once but not send them out again. You can always tell. If all you have to do is, I can take a look at that chain and I can tell where you're broken. Or they won't read their writing, and I know that by, they say, well, where do I submit my short stories? Well, obviously you're not reading short stories, because if you were reading short stories, you'd know where to submit them. You'd submit them in the same places you were reading them. It's market research as well as structural research and craft research. Those 6 steps, I have real clarity on that because I'm way on the other side of what that produces. And the people who gave me those suggestions, Octavia Butler and Robert Heinlein and Larry Niven and Harlan Ellison and so forth and so on, were all way on the other side of selling their first story. So there's real wisdom and clarity in there. I don't have that kind of clarity about almost anything else. Finding a soulmate, we can point you in that direction stochastically, to behave in a given way, to feel a particular way about yourself, to put yourself out there in a particular way so that you increase your chances of success. In terms of things like achieving a financial goal, the physics of losing weight are very simple. The physiology and the psychology and the sociology of it, and the biochemistry of it, really complicated. The physics are simple. If you can't keep your eyes on the physics of it, the other things you're trying to do don't matter. And that's difficult. And you can look at something where there's objective reality, and see how difficult it is for people to stay on that path. Once you see that, it increases your compassion for the areas in which it's not objective, in which it's very subjective, in which you need other people's cooperation. So when I talk about, from inside the system of life, we're constantly moving and growing. And the Heisenberg uncertainty principle says what? You can tell me the velocity or the direction of a particle, but you can't tell me the position. Or you can tell me the position, but you can't tell me the velocity and direction. Life is like that. As soon as the consciousness engages, you can only see part of the answer. So the magic formula attempts in fire dance. Fire dance is actually a part of the magic formula. It is a way that we anchor the magic formula into our bodies. It says that Steve created the absolute best model he could of how to do this, but it lacks specificity to what you're specifically trying to do in your life. So if you combine the magic formula with, let's say, the 6-step life writing process, great. Most people can use money in their lives, so you could combine it with the Think and Grow Rich 13 principles. Works great. It's the idea of having 2 different ways to look at it, or sometimes 3 different ways to look at it. So if you have a problem, you literally can just say, well, how would I use the magic formula to address this? You write that down and say, okay, in terms of the first step is map or model, and their actions, and then filling myself with gratitude and clarifying my intention and being sure that all of my actions and intended results come from the core of my being, that they are rewarding for their own sake. Now, let me take another model to look at it. And you use the 6-step process, writing a sentence a day, 1 to 4 short stories a month, finish and submit one, don't rewrite except to editorial request, read 10 times as much as you write, and repeat this process 100 times. You figure out where are you on those? How would you apply that to what you're doing? How would you use that to guide you? If you look at both that and the magic formula, it's like you get to brainstorm without anybody else there, just by looking at what the 2 different models say about it. And you could also look at the hero's journey. You could look at the Think and Grow Rich 13 principles. I don't care. I do care. First, understand the magic formula. Create a morning ritual and anchor that in so that you create the connection for, like, okay, if I get the first hour of my day right, I get these additional results. What do I need to do to get that first hour of my day right? And you only have to improve at the rate of like 1% per week. You hard chargers out there can aim at increasing 1% per day. That's okay. I mean, I will wake up in the morning and I won't get out of bed until I look at, okay, physically, what am I doing today that I can get 1% better at? Today, I get to get 1% better at resting. So that's great. I love that. In terms of my heart, can I get 1% better at communicating with my wife, with my son, with you guys here on Fire Dance? And I believe that by making that announcement about the Magic Formula book and making an honest offer that if you cannot afford it, we'll give it to you for free. This is my heart. Now I'm able to communicate with you better. In terms of career things, what can I do to get 1% better there? Well, I'm working on a project. I'm starting to play with my next script. Monday, I go back into the Niven project and begin to polish it along some specific lines. So this weekend, rest actually enables me to take a break from which I will come back on, at 2 o'clock after I get finished with you guys. I will play VR golf with my daughter. That connects with my heart. That's more than 1% right there. I will go to a reading that Tananarive is doing later on today, and I will, protect her and deliver her there and bring her home, be sure that she's okay. And then tomorrow, I will drive down and present to the Black Karate Federation, the place where I learned how to integrate myself as a warrior. That's a homecoming. That's That's a deep emotional thing for me. It represents there's fear and discomfort here. Like I said, it took me 23, 24 years to earn my first black belt because I was dealing with so much fear. But when I walk into that space, what I have to do is to let these young people know that whatever it is that they're going through, what exists on the other side of it is worth it. That they're going to be healthier, they're going to feel safer, they'll be in a better relationship with their fear, they're going to be able to learn what they're doing here to be better husbands and wives, and to build their families and build their careers. Because I remember very clearly, and I'll undoubtedly say this to them, that Steve Muhammad changed us. He would have us doing endless jumping jacks, sit-ups and push-ups and sparring until the mats were slick with sweat and the windows were fogged. And while he did that, he would scream at us. If you can do this, you can learn math, you can learn history, you can get a job, you can do anything. If you can learn karate, you can learn anything. And that's right in alignment with what Masashi Miyamoto said: learn one thing, learn 10,000 things. Or what Jerry Pournelle said: once you've learned how to master anything, you know how to master anything else. I am not the guy to teach them to raise their fighting skills. At the same time, I'm going to have to demonstrate to them my fighting skills so that they know that I'm serious. Steve will introduce me. He will, say that I'm a grandmaster within the system, but they're going to be, that buys me 60 seconds of respect. After that, they want to see how I move. So, in order to serve my tribe, I have to demonstrate who I am physically and emotionally and mentally. In other words, I'm using my commitment to my tribe to motivate myself to be a better martial artist, which is one of the goals that I have that makes the little boy inside me happy. And when he's happy, he gives me more creativity that I can use to solve my life problems. So if you can see how all this stuff fits together, that might take us as far as I want to go at this moment. What I would love to do is to talk to you about what your concerns are so that we can begin to apply these ideas in your lives. Because that's where the rubber meets the road, not where I talk. But assuming that you're doing the breathing, because that's the starting, that's your white belt level. I have this, the book is organized and the system is organized on a belt level because it's something that I understand very well. The white belt level is to actually engage with the breathing. 5 times a day, you do 60 seconds of deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing. And you do this 5 times a day for at least 60 seconds each time. If you're doing that, you're in the door. Because what's going to happen as you start to change, evolve, engage, your stress levels will rise. And if your stress levels rise, we have to be sure that that stress is connecting you, is driving you. It is not destroying or distracting you. So, if you are doing that, and if you're not doing that but want some instruction on that and want some advice about that, you can ask those questions. But remember, that's the white belt stuff. There's the yellow belt is to apply the magic formula to a goal in each of your 3 major areas. The green belt stuff is to take those goals and connect them into a morning ritual. Okay. By the time you get to brown belt, you're starting to play with your second model. And I suggest Think and Grow Rich unless you've got all the money you need. And then the black belt level, you're doing the last 4 steps in Think and Grow Rich, and you're ready to begin to experiment with other models. And I strongly encourage you to do so. So please, let's get started. Raise your hand, Jaime. Hello, Jaime.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I had a really interesting experience the last couple of days I want to share with the group.
Please.
The last couple of months, the theme of my life with all of these different techniques and models has been experiencing or finding balance. Balance between the survival, the heart, and the head, balance on the different parts of the magic formula, all of these things. And there's a lot of just chop wood, carry water in that repetition.
That's most of it.
process. Life threw something at me this week where I caught whatever late summer, autumn crud is going around, and I ended up with a fever on Monday, and I've had a low grade fever all day, every day, all week.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, if that part of it's been no fun, I ended up at my doctor's office yesterday, and it's not COVID, it's not the flu, it's not mononucleosis, it's not a bladder infection. We know what it's not, and she just sent me home to rest for the weekend. So I laughed when you said get better, 1% better at resting, because that's the theme of my weekend, to get over this fever.
Sometimes you have to.
The thing that I wanted to share with the group is that even with that going on, I'm still doing my breathing. I'm still doing my morning ritual. I've had to modify some of the physical stuff because the body just doesn't have the stamina to
That's right.
do what I'm used to doing. And that's okay. I'm
It's
still
not just
doing what I
okay.
can.
It's not just okay. It is critical that you learn how to judge where you are in terms of your energy. Never go above a 3 on a scale of 1
Right.
to 10 in terms of discomfort with this
Right.
stuff.
So here's the interesting that happened. In resting and not doing anything, that takes effort for me. I'm always doing, always working, always pushing. And that's been my life for 40 or 50 years. And so trying to do things restfully. And I ended up cleaning house a little bit, and I found an old folder of some stuff that I wrote when I was a teenager, including an outline draft for a teenage-inspired novel that, as I was reading my own notes, I realized is a decent outline for an entire world and universe that could include hundreds of short stories and dozens of novels. And it's a good idea. And I got
Great.
excited about it, and it fueled a passion for my one sentence a day in the last 3 or 4 days beyond what I've experienced for the last couple of months. And what was really interesting, as I was looking at some of the stuff that I was writing in response to that, is holy shit, did that trigger some fear buttons?
Talk to me about it.
Actually to recognize, as fun as it is exploring these ideas, you are getting right down to some bloody bone and muscle material here. And what the
is the
fuck
fear?
happens if you succeed at this? And
Okay, so tell me what you think the fear is.
um,
What are you afraid of?
it's that basic fear of success, that everything is going to change as I just keep showing up doing the stuff that I've learned here and that I've been practicing here. This is all going to come true, and I am going to succeed beyond my wildest dream.
So tell me, what does success mean then that it triggers fear?
That's an interesting question. I think it's connected to this same struggle I have with rest, and that giving myself permission to take whatever time I need to recharge, heal, whatever, goes against some of those voices I learned as a child that says
Okay,
that's
so
selfish, or that
okay, so whose voices are those?
mostly parents.
Okay, so your parents were trying to give you lessons that would help you survive. They were doing the best they could. What
Right.
you now understand is that muscles grow when you rest, not when you exercise.
Right.
It's exercise, nutrition, rest. Exercise, nutrition, rest. If you take out any one element of that, the cycle collapses. Once you understand that, then you know that the voice that tells you to work constantly is not your friend. That
Right.
that voice is a survival voice. It says your family's going to die unless you keep running.
Right.
You're in a situation where ordinarily, you see, if you're running, your muscles are resting automatically in between the contractions. If you're in the natural world, you learn about the cycles of rest and recovery and action naturally. In the modern world, it's artificial. So we're separate from that. You need to be sure that you satisfy your logical understanding of the situation so you know that it's logically true that you need to rest. Then you need to look at physically what you'd need to do to be able to rest. Jacuzzi and more sleep and getting a massage and making love and, whatever it is that those things are. And then you look at the emotions. The emotions say, well, what are my fears around this? What's going on? Where do they come from? And be sure that you logically agree with what your emotions are saying. If your emotions and your logic disagree, then you know about a belief that you need to change. And you can actually integrate that into fire dance, into your daily activity. You might need to change your beliefs about what work is, what rest is, how you grow, how you become a master. So what you are now, see, before you were on the path of survival. Now you're on the path of mastery. And you have to ask yourself, what is a master? How do the masters feel about this? So that logically you understand everything. Once you understand it logically, that still is not going to make you emotionally in alignment with it, but it gives you the ability to do the following thing that you've already begun to do, which is to observe the voices in your head. As if you're sitting on a riverbank watching logs float down the river, and you're not connected to them, and you're kind of saying, oh, there's a spruce, there's a poplar, there's this, there's that, there's that voice, and there's my mom saying this, my dad saying this, my teacher saying this, society saying that, and you get to just observe them, and you get that thing about you're not the voices in your head. You're the one listening to the voices. Once you get that, the rest of it is applying it and deepening it and getting the joke. And the peace you want is in between your thoughts. So if you're meditating, so I would suggest that you wake up in the morning, you do whatever wake up thing you need, and then you meditate. You actually calm yourself. You sit and you observe your thoughts and your feelings. And the more deeply you observe, the more deeply you sink, the less frequently those logs come down the river. It's very interesting. You can actually slow down the flow, and you can start living in the gap between the logs. The gap between your thoughts, is the space in which you will glimpse who you really are. And that's what you're looking for. Just glimpses. You can't ever see it directly because you're not going to be able to do it in your full field vision. You're going to be able to glimpse something in your peripheral. You'll start sensing the part of you that is observing and has always been observing, and enjoying that process, is one of the things that is really great. I mean, you could just sit with your child self and you just observe that little scamp. And he's looking at you, and maybe you hug each other, and you just feel each other's heartbeat, and you stay in the silence. You stay in the space between the thoughts, between the urgencies. Remember, in order for you to change direction, a muscle has to relax before it can contract again. In order to heal, a muscle has to rest before it can grow again. Once you understand that physically, you can start convincing yourself that it is also true intellectually and emotionally. So really good, Jaime. Good stuff, buddy.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. So let's see. Somebody else has their hand up. Is that Orion? Orion, great. Okay, turn on your sound, sweetheart. Okay, you're still muted.
That better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Listening to you today, I realized a whole bunch of things. First of all, I've been following the different steps for 3 years and didn't know it. And in 3 years, I've lost the weight that I had to lose to get my knees fixed. And all that time, I was promising myself that I would get a new piano. I have a new piano now.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. When and that's the thing, that if if you accept that the meaning of life is to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service, then it is clear that all you have to do, when people say, I'm not motivated to do something, all that means is that they're not clear on how doing that thing will help them to escape suffering, and they're not clear on how doing that thing will increase their joy. That's muddy. Okay, so as soon as you gain clarity about that, I am going to lose weight so that I can get my knees replaced so that I'll be more comfortable. And also, see, that's the escape suffering thing. And also, I get a new piano. That's the embrace the joy. So now you're motivated by both pain and pleasure. Pain is the best short-term motivator. Pleasure is the long-term motivator. The reason is that if you motivate yourself with pain, the more you do, the more you escape pain, and the more your motivation drops. Whereas, that's why people get into endless cycles of dieting, where they lose the weight until they've lost enough weight to make their doctor happy, and then they go right back to their old habits.
Exactly.
But if what you're doing is about increasing joy, then the more you do, the happier you get. The activity itself becomes neurologically associated, in a Pavlovian response to the desired emotion. So you begin to associate joy with discipline. And when you do that, when you start associating discipline and joy, dear God, that is a different world. That is a different world. And that is what all masters do. You cannot become a master motivated by pain. You can get started on the path motivated by pain. But to stay on the path, you have to feel that this thing itself is a beautiful and joyous thing. To be able to write every day. Oh my God, that's all I wanted when I was a kid. To be able to communicate with you guys and share my heart with you. This means the world to me, to be able to wake up next to my beautiful, brilliant wife every day. To be able to watch my son growing. To be able to connect with my daughter playing golf. You see what I'm doing there? That everything I need to do in order to be Steve, and it takes a little more effort every year to be Steve. It used to be easy. I just roll out of bed. Now I have to do this amount of meditation, this amount of working out, and so forth and so on. You have to connect everything that allows you to answer the question, who am I? And the answer to that question in terms of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish is, I am that bitch. I am the person who gets up in the morning and does the things that keep me on the path, that get me the results so that I can see what's going on, perform the experiments, where am I in 3-dimensional space, 4-dimensional space, so I can stay on that path to become the person I want to be a pioneer perhaps, go beyond the horizon, then I can leave notes for those who follow. It's however it is that you visualize that. What I talk about here is the way I see it. But that's not going to be exactly the way you see it. You have that responsibility as a grown-ass woman. You said, the pain is obvious, but the pleasure of the piano, yeah. Pain is behind me, pleasure in front of me. Pain, pleasure. When you've got that, now the last step here is, what's the meaning of life? To escape suffering. Now pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is holding on to the pain. Okay, pain is just experiencing something. Embrace joy, not short-term pleasure, but actual, what makes me happy? What gives me a sense of satisfaction? And then once you have escaped that pain or you're on that path, you get to be of service. And when that is an important part of who you are, see, you have just given service to the community, all right? Because you were willing to share your process, and by sharing the thing that you have done, losing the weight, demonstrating how you did it by putting the pain behind you, your joy in front of you, and running like hell, you have just demonstrated that the most basic understandings can be applied to the most elevated goals. And I want to thank you for allowing me to dialogue with you about this so that every one of us can see an example of how this actually works. The rest is talk. But when people can show how they're using these principles, that's when we grow as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. It really uh, opened everything. I was more or less just treading water um, until I started coming here, and then everything started to make sense, and I got a kick in the pants.
Well, remember something. This has only been going on for, a year and a half, closing in on 2 years. You had accomplished countless things in order to survive long enough. All I am is another ally for you on the path. That's it. It's all your work. 100%. I can say things, but it's up to you to say, oh, let me try that. Oh, let me try that. Most won't. Most won't. But if you will try these things, then you'll know for yourself whether my path is for you. I want you to be a scientist. I want you to take responsibility. And that's exactly what you have done. And that, just keep sharing on, in chat and supporting other people. That thing that you did, that was a perfect choice. That was wonderful. Thank you, Orion.
Already.
Oh God, I love this work so much. So, okay, so who's next? Who's next? Volunteer or you will be voluntold. Angela Dalton. Hello, Angela.
I knew it.
You're just too cute for me to ignore, sweetheart. What am I supposed to do?
No, I mean, because I say I knew it because I was sitting here in this chair, like, okay, you should do it, you should talk, you should share because you have stuff to share. But I was like, don't cry, just don't cry this time.
Yeah, see, you were leaning toward the camera. That's how I knew. Lean in. So talk to us.
I just want to really
And cry all you want to, sweetheart. Maybe you can make me cry too.
well, this time it'll be tears of joy. So I really took what you said last time when I shared that I was struggling with my writing and getting deep. And what was really interesting about your response to me was, you said find that little girl and be Panther mom. And what was interesting is because everything that, I write for kids. And I'm working on a story right now about, see, there we go. I'm working on a story right now.
Good.
All the themes of my stories are about girls or women with complicated relationships with their mothers, because I have that. So that's why it's hard for me to go deep, because it unearths a lot of those old wounds, and some of them I've worked through and some of them I haven't. And
Now, allow me to reframe what you just said. That's not what makes it hard to go deep. That's what makes it possible to go deep. And going deep is hard.
yes, thank you. So everything that both you and Tananarive shared with me that I was here, I mean, something just clicked, and in literally a week, I replotted my story, and I redrafted, and I'm on page 20 of my story. And I also realized that one of the things that was making it hard was that I didn't understand my character well enough. So I'm also excited for your characterization class, which I'm sharing with all of my friends and writing friends and colleagues.
Please do. It's another one of these things. We are in a unique position, like no one else in the industry that I know of being able to say, we'll take whatever you can offer. That we don't care. We trust you to know that, yeah, we need money to keep going, but we don't need money as much as we need a community. Okay, because being of service. So Tananarive, would you take over and talk to Angela, because I think it's your thoughts that are going to be best.
Yes, congratulations. I don't really have any extra thoughts, because it sounds like you've taken the baton and run with it, to use an Olympic metaphor.
We need
So just all I have to say is congratulations. I love seeing that smile on your face.
Thank you so much. I'm having fun. I'm having fun with the character. I love the story.
Great.
So it's right now it feels good. It feels really good. I know it's
You,
middle, but right now.
here's the whole thing. In the process of writing, there will be time in life in general. There'll be times when it's easy. You know, you can feel the passion, you can feel the joy, and the other times when it's just chop wood, carry water, and the other times when it feels like you are ripping your guts out trying to get this done. And this is where it's critical to understand your process, to understand that there are going to be that's just natural, that you're not hallucinating, that this is hard. It's really hard to align our physical energy and our emotions and our minds and get all of that at the level of unconscious competence so we can play jazz. If this was easy, everybody'd be able to do it. So, and the open heart that you are displaying right now, this is exactly what you need to be able to have matured to your age and still have that open heart. Somebody
I
is
am muted.
yeah, you mute them. When you understand, first connect with your survival drive, that badass bitch in your heart. Okay, that's what keeps your little girl alive. The little girl then can be happy, joyful, dancing, weepy, anything, because mommy is standing with a flaming sword at the gate and saying, you do what you need to do in order to be who you are. When you do that, then you know, you come to our workshop and you learn patterns and you learn this and you learn that and you play with them and you find your own way through them. But that is powered by the emotions that you're feeling right now. Why are you doing this? Because you love it, or because you have to, or because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't do it. Whatever it is that you need, you take all of that emotional fuel, all of it, and you use it, and you will need it. And you must know yourself. I'm going to springboard off you just a second, just a moment of free association. Simone Biles was encouraged to lie about herself. In Tokyo, she knew that she could not perform at the level she needed to perform. She is an extraordinary genius kinesthetically. She does not operate on the same level that we operate at. And she knew that within herself, she could not perform at the level she needed to. She would be risking death. And she said, no, she was being true to herself. And she needed some time to heal and then to come back. Other people who've never performed at a level close to her and do not, and basically were saying, no, you should have gone out anyway. Risk your life. Go ahead, dance, monkey, dance. And she said, screw you. What you have to have is a deep knowledge of who you are, a deep understanding of the path you need to be on in order to master your life in the specific ways that you've chosen to. And then be willing to stand at the gate of your heart and say, no one who does not love me gets to come and play with my little girl. No one who, it's like, it's as simple as that. What you have discovered is that Tananarive and I will not let anybody hurt you here. Period. You are simply safe here. Period. So you can let that beautiful little girl out. I would love to play with that little girl. I would love to see you and Tananarive talking and laughing and playing and dancing together and talking story and having fun. But you have to be strong. The adults have to be strong, or the children are not safe to play. And this is what you're finding out, that it's okay to feel like you're full of mush. You talk about, why did I spend 23, 24 years learning how to hurt people before I could get a piece of cloth to wrap around my waist? Because I needed to feel safe in the world. Because if I wasn't safe in the world, I wouldn't be able to be a geek. I'm just a geek. I'm a nerd. And that's who I am. That's what I am. But what people don't get is, I'm the nerd from hell. And I am delighted to have you as one of the women of my tribe. And do you have any idea when I say that, to look at the women of my tribe who have the same philosophy or the same genetics or the same interests? I have many different tribes, and to feel like, look at their beauty. Isn't this a wonderful garden? I have my rose. I have the beauty in my life. But it's important to know that there is other beauty out there, and I can appreciate that beauty without plucking the rose, without even smelling the rose. I can just look at the rose and say, beautiful. And what I see in you is beauty. I think you are a beautiful lady with a beautiful heart, and I'm proud to be one of the warriors of your tribe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being open to me. I appreciate that.
You betcha. Is there anything else we can do for you today?
But just one last thing, I'm a nerd too. And so had a really great learning experience just a couple. I went to one of these big, conventions, like book conventions. And it was so funny because everybody just kind of like, flies, like they kind of just chase after the same thing. And that's just so not who I am. And I was feeling out of place and I was feeling really kind of alienated. And it just so happened, I think both you and everyone will enjoy this. It just so happened I went down and went outside to just get a breath of fresh air. And who should be standing there but David F. Walker? And he's the cartoonist. He's a cartoon or a comic writer. He wrote Bitter Root. And
Oh, yes, yes.
Bitterroot. We remember Bitterroot.
We remember Bitterroot quite well.
and he's standing there and nobody else knows who he is. And I'm freaking out. And so I just start fangirling and word vomiting. And we took a picture together and he was very nice and very sweet. I posted the picture, tagged him saying, you know, how great he is and how much I love the root. And he shared the picture on his own profile. And all of a sudden I have John Jennings like following me, like all of these people are following me and they're not part of, you know, the mainstream. And so that was a great learning experience for me of like not always following what other people are doing, because I found my people. I found the people who I want to be connected to. I love comic books. I love comic book writing. I love graphic novels. And so that's what this project is. It's my first graphic novel. And so
Well, it sounds like you're connected with the right people. That's for damn sure.
I mean, the universe was doing something that day. I don't know.
And look. A sailor on a raft will look for a couple different things to let them know when they're getting close to land. Driftwood and seagulls. Okay? When you start noticing synchronicity happening, and you can't make it happen, but you can notice it happening, it tells you that you're getting closer to your path. That in the magic formula, as long as you don't have a zero in any category, you'll be moving. But by the time you get up to around a 4 or 5 in each category, you'll start noticing that you get lucky. It's very interesting. That's one of the reasons why I call it magic, because I don't totally understand it, but it is true. You are experiencing the kind of luck that comes from having some kind of a map or model or mentor, taking consistent action, maintaining an open, grateful heart, keeping an eye on your destination, and knowing that your actions are in accordance with your values and beliefs. Harm to none. You just simply want to share love with the world. And that open heart is safe if you have that badass bitch with a flaming sword to protect that little girl. Okay, because that will also attract predators. You are earning your way into the company of other people with open hearts and active little children. And you better believe they've got flaming swords too. They're very defensive, they know how to defend themselves if they need to. When you start earning your way into that company, you know you're on the right path. It's as simple as that. And if walking on the path is its own reward, then you win every day. You understand? It's a success technique that guarantees success, because the ultimate thing, what is success? The progressive realization of a worthy goal. What does everybody want? To move away from suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. It's not about whether you get this award or publish that book or that. Those are byproducts, not direct products. The reward is getting up every day and living your life on your terms and doing what you want, when you want, with who you want, as much as you want. That's, that means you are a successful woman. That means that there's a little girl out there who is wondering whether or not it is possible to be successful in the world, and you're going to be able to take her hands and look her in the eyes and say, it's worth it. The work is worth it, and mean it. And she will look at you, and in your eyes, she will see all the world.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Oh, see, stop it. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Do you have any idea how critically important it is for me to be able to actually speak my heart? For me to be able to just kind of be me. This is who I am. You know, I this is precious. And what I want for you is to go out of your way to find people you can be authentic with. It costs too much to wear a mask. It costs too much. Okay? Thank you, Angela. Okay. And, make sure, get the Magic Formula book, www.realheroesjourney.com. And if money is any problem, just send us an email and we'll get it taken care of. But, it's cheap. All right. And we'll see you at the workshop.
Yes, I'm signed up.
Great. Great. All righty. Let's see. Who else? Who's Angelique Davis?
Hello.
Hello.
So it's good to, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Can you
I
hear me
can.
okay?
I hear you
Okay.
perfectly.
It's good to be back.
It's
I
good to
haven't been
have
able
you.
to join much. Yeah, I haven't been able to join much because my children usually have sports on the weekend.
You have to
Um,
prioritize, sweetheart. You have to
but
do what's
I've,
most important.
but I've been working on my fiction writing. And one of the questions, I do nonfiction writing and academic writing. And I've been having a challenge with shifting gears. So I have my writing time every morning, and I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that piece. I just noticed that I'm so
Okay,
used to
so let
academic writing.
sure.
Yeah.
So what you want is specifically to switch gears between academic and fiction, between fiction and nonfiction. Okay, so first of all, you accept that what you've just described is something real. You're not hallucinating, that it can be a difficulty. So how do you do that? And there are going to be a couple different ways. And you're going to need to find your own answer to this, but I can make some suggestions. One thing is that in between the academic writing and the fiction writing, you do something, you take a break. You do something completely different. You go for a walk. You listen to music. You watch something on television. You literally break between one thing and the other thing. They're not the same things. Another thing you could do is look at the way you prime the pump. In other words, you might read, you might read a poem. You might type a poem out. You might write a poem. Ray Bradbury used to write a poem every day. And it's literally, you're asking yourself the question, how can I access the state of being that allows me to perform in a particular way such that I can do the things today that make me happy and also take a step toward my destiny? That is a perfectly valid question. I'll tell you, the meta answer to this is that the ancient child technique we talk about, where you go into a deep state of relaxation and you imagine your child self. The furthest step to that is the ancient part of the ancient child is you also have an inner elder, the older woman who is on the other side of all these issues. She knows exactly how to do exactly what you're saying. And if you can imagine both of them, in other words, you already have the wisdom to know how to do this. You already know how to do this. In fact, looking back from the future, you've already done it. You figured it out. Okay. So if you have the certainty that absolutely there's a way to do this, it's just a matter of figuring it out. If you imagine the little child inside you and you imagine the elder woman you're going to be totally on the other side of all these issues, or you could use a mentor if there is a writer that you really admire, okay? Have that writer or have the elder talking to the little girl. Just sit back and listen to what they have to say. And if you do that, you are asking your deep self to give you the keys to your kingdom. Now, what I really like to do is if Tananarive would jump into this, I would love for her to make a statement. T, are you there? If she's not there, she's not. She comes in and out. But does that help?
Wait, what am I making a statement about?
Okay, so Angelique would like, she writes nonfiction, academic work, and she needs to make a transition to doing fiction work. She wants to, if she's doing nonfiction and fiction work in the same day, sometimes she can have a difficult time. She can have a difficult time making the transition. Is that right, Angelique?
Oh,
Yes, I've been an academic for over 20 years, and my dream's been to publish fiction. I've been writing, but it's hard for me to transition because I think I'm so focused, or have just so many years of academic writing, and accessing the other parts of my brain sometimes is hard.
I totally get that. I guess the answer to whether and how you manage it is if you will write on your fiction, if it's on designated days or not. Like if you can designate that you work on your fiction Saturday and Sunday, and you will actually do that, then there's no need to transition between the two of them. I don't think. Aside from, of course, life writing does teach writing a sentence a day, so I don't want to disregard that. But the other option is to try to write in the margins using the sentence a day method to help you transition. Like, for instance, you do your academic writing during office hours and your fiction after hours, either before you go to work or after work hours. And one way to do that is rereading a couple pages like that you wrote previously and starting by editing, because editing is the way I get into flow state. And maybe creating a playlist for your fiction work so that you can disappear into a different. I mean, some writers cannot listen to music with lyrics while they write, so that's not a good solution for everybody, but it works for me. Especially if I'm working on a horror piece, just listening to horror scores, or maybe you want to listen to like classical music. So those are some tips and tricks to try to switch between the two states, but you could also designate specific days for fiction and other days for academic writing.
Okay,
And
thank you.
there are other
That's
things you could do as well. You're changing, understand that you need to be in that these are two different states. They're both different views in on the same process. But it is reasonable to consider them to be two different states, to disentangle them until you get mastery, at which point you can weave them together. So you might try writing fiction at one desk and nonfiction at a completely different desk. How about wear a baseball cap? When you're
okay.
writing nonfiction, and then you wear a different cap when it's time for fiction writing. You literally ask, what do I need to do? Your
For some weird
emotions,
reason, I just want to jump in here too, honey.
please do.
For some weird reason, I only work on my current novel on my laptop as opposed to my desktop. And the reason I started doing that was because I didn't want to have competing versions of the manuscript and accidentally lose my work, or so I'm just very paranoid about that. So I only work on my novel on my laptop, and that means that I can be lying down in bed, like propped up against a pillow. I can be anywhere in the house, and it does feel different than sitting at my desk in my office.
As you can see, there are infinite ways of accessing it. As soon as you acknowledge that it actually is an issue, you forgive yourself. You're not hallucinating. It is an issue. Now it's a matter of, believing that, I can't do this yet. I don't know how to do this, but I can learn. As soon as you do that, then you can start asking yourself questions. What you just did was you asked a question of two people who know how to do this. Our answers may or may not be germane to you, but they are our honest answers, and you can keep asking more people. And it could be, by the time you get 100 answers, I guarantee you'll have your solution. It may not be anything anybody said to you, but somebody's going to say something that's going to spark it for you and say, oh, that's right. I could have a soundtrack for each project, and this soundtrack over here, and this, or I can do it this in this room and this in that room, or I can do this at this time and this at this time. Whatever it is that you need to do, there's going to be a way to do it. If you start with that confidence, the rest is just detective work.
Thank you so much. It's really helpful. I think I was trying to sit down and do the every single day in the same few hour block, and I'm realizing witching or doing other things.
Some
Even though
people
it's
can do
like the
that.
same subject matter, one's nonfiction, one's fiction. I mean, they are related, but they're different.
Consider it to be like juggling. Yes, people can juggle 12 chainsaws, but when you're beginning, start with 3 scarves and build up slowly. This is difficult. I can switch back and forth, but I've been doing this for decades. I've got the neurology for it, and you can develop that neurology.
Thank you very much. Really
You
helpful.
betcha. Alrighty, so let us go on. Let's see who's next. I'll remove my spotlight and I will see who else is here. Who's going to raise their hand for fear that I'm going to call them if they don't? Let's see. Dr. Yvette.
They're not scared of
Is
you.
Dr. Huh?
I said they're not scared of you.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing well. Thank you. Why did I know you were going to call me?
Because I'm a brat.
So for me, I really appreciate this, and I thank Maurice Barnes for reminding me of how beautiful a gathering this is. And for
Thank you.
me, I have the same kind of issue as the sister before who was saying just trying to balance the technical side with the creative side, and I'm ready to take a deep dive and really get this book out of me.
Is it
And
a nonfiction book or fiction book?
it's a nonfiction book.
Okay. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
nonfiction book.
Do you have any obstacles other than, time or fear, or what stops you from finishing it?
Just the distractions. I'm procrastinating, and I guess it is just the fear of the trauma that will come back or unearth.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So this is a book that concerns trauma in a way that writing this book honestly puts you back into certain states or brings up certain memories, experiences, associations that you have fear toward. Would that be accurate?
absolutely.
Okay. So in order to do this, once again, you will need to experiment to find your way through it. But looking at the magic formula, you're going to need a map or model of how to deal with traumatic stories. Okay.
Mhm.
And our emotions are created by 3 things: the way we use our body, what we focus on, and the language that we use. So if you are writing about something that is traumatic, you might look at other authors who have written about traumatic things and what they said about their process, and look for the way they put their attention on the right thing. Maybe it was, I'm willing to go back into this experience so that I can serve my community. I'm willing to do this so that I can prevent this from ever happening to another woman. I'm willing to do this so that I can cleanse myself of this. I'm willing to do this so that I can free myself. Whatever it is that they used, keep looking. And I would say, get a journal and write down in that journal, what are all the different ways that people do this? Because, if, once again, you're talking about a very real phenomenon. You're not joking. You're not weak. This is not indicative of anything wrong with you. It's real. You're going into that real thing. And remember, the meaning of life is to escape suffering. So if you have to go through suffering in order to accomplish something, you need vast clarity. Why am I doing this?
Mhm.
So let me ask you the question. Why are you doing it?
Ooh, because I don't want it to happen to anybody else. I want
There
to
you go.
break the curse.
There you go. So it's like, so I want you to state that in the most powerful way possible. I will be a warrior for my sisters, or something like that. Just really let me have it like a mommy lion. Just step into that badass bitch space. The part of
Yes.
you. So if you get out of the little girl, be her mommy. with a flaming sword that will protect that little girl and the other little girls of the world. However it is that you need to put it. I don't need to know what the book is about. What I need to
Yes.
know is that there was pain associated with it. So you need to protect the part of yourself that is in pain, and also let that part know, not only will I protect you, but I am taking these actions to protect others. And if you do
Yes.
that and you hug her and she is totally convinced that you will protect her, she will just love you so much. She will say, Mommy, you are a badass. Mommy, I trust you. I will tell you my story. You protect me from the bad people. I will tell you my story. You tell my story to the world. That is one way of doing it. Okay? What you need to do is to research the way other people have dealt with trauma in art. Tananarive, once again, I would love to bring you into this discussion because you just finished a book that involves trauma. Can you possibly, can you add thoughts about this?
I think
She
she
goes in
left.
and out. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe she left, but
Mhm.
but does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. Thank you.
Okay, now the other thing, the way into this process is the breathing. Okay, so if you will set your smartphone for every 3 hours or every 2 hours, it goes off, you do 60 seconds of deep, slow breathing. You will begin to sensitize yourself to the way you breathe when you're feeling powerful. And you
Mm.
will also begin to notice the way you breathe when you're feeling disempowered, when you're feeling afraid, when you're feeling small. And you also can deliberately say, so what I want you to do now, I want you to show me what it feels like. What is the body language of someone who feels insecure? No, no, no. Well, let's start with the other one first. Insecure,
Okay. Mm.
scared, small, vulnerable. Just go flirt with the edge of that.
Mm.
Okay, now show me the body language of someone who is secure, powerful. Someone just messed with your daughter and she's standing behind you, holding on.
Mm.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so you will break their face. You
Yes.
will bite their nose off. That's right.
Hmm.
Do not touch my child.
Yes.
Period. That part of you protects the heart part of you. You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
literally, just by shifting your body language, once you start learning how to breathe when you're feeling confident, how to breathe when you're willing to die to protect that child. If you're willing to die to protect your child, people will not mess with you because they're not willing to die. That
Hmm.
you look in their eyes and say, I know exactly who I am, and I know exactly what I'm worth, and I am not willing to let you tell me I'm anything other than that. Bring it. Let's
Yes.
do this. See, that feeling right there, that body language. Square your shoulders as if you're in that space. Show me the body language in that space. How do you breathe deep in your belly like a warrior in that space? That's right, Superman, Wonder Woman. I don't care what it is. One of the warriors of Wakanda. You one of the Dora Milaje. I mean, that's right. That's right. See, so that there, the reaction you just had right there tells me that if every time you started to write down, you started, Wakanda forever. You just step into
Mm.
that power space. Do that, and you can actually create that Pavlovian stimulus response loop between that body language and the state in which you can navigate these waters with power and passion and honesty and courage. And then you can literally, every time you're feeling good, you notice yourself kind of dancing around the house, do this. See, you literally can build up a battery of positive feelings that you can then trigger just by doing this. You're in control. It's your nervous
Yes.
system. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So be a warrior for your tribe. Be a mommy tiger, and your little girl gets to dance all day long.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Isn't this fun?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's a really good time. What is your doctorate in?
It's a doctorate of theology that it's an honorary doctorate.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's great. And so, whatever beliefs you have, go into the spirituality of your childhood and find the nuggets of strength, because in every spiritual discipline that has lasted for generations, there is real truth. There is real truth. Find that, tie it into your DNA, and believe that you were born to thrive. The meaning of life is to escape suffering, embrace
Yes,
joy, and to be of service.
that's right.
Bless you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
You bet. This is great. Just want to mention again that in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing our Creating Unforgettable Characters workshop. You can find out about that at www.writerwebinar.com. And we have our deal, our sliding scale. Don't let money stop you. Let all your friends who are actually writers and interested in writers know about this, so we can have a big, fun workshop filled with people who really want to become better writers. So let's see. Let's see. Who else? Let's see. Alexander Adams. Let's get the guys in here for a minute.
Okay. Well, I've been amping up how many times I'm doing the breathing exercises. They really do make a difference. We were just talking about how posture is, if you can't get out of your emotional state, if you change your physical body posture deliberately, it does tend to enhance and help slip you out of wherever you're stuck. I've been doing the 5 Tibetans, and they're kind of funny for me because if I do them every day, I'm working my way up. I'm only at 5 right now. I can't do
No,
20.
but you understand something?
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's
Okay,
what I'm
so you're
doing.
doing 5 Tibetans. That gives me a good snapshot of where you are. So you're doing
Yeah.
5. Okay.
So I'm
go
doing
ahead.
5, but when I skip a day or 2, what happens is my body's really sore the next day, and it's even more sore the second day. So by the 3rd day, I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, if I don't do them now, I'm never going to be able to do them at all." And I do them, and everything goes away.
You know
It's
something?
really
I don't know
weird.
if this is true. I really don't know if this is true, but I kind of suspect that things like the Tibetans, they don't make you sore. They
They don't.
sensitize you to your soreness. That basically we're numb to what our bodies are feeling. And what we're feeling is that slight misalignment is constantly grinding down our joints. It's doing this, it's doing that. It's horrifying. And we're numb to it. That things
That
like yoga
especially
and the
me,
Tibetans, things like
especially
yoga
me.
and the Tibetans, I suspect, and I'm not dogmatic about this, I suspect that what they're doing is they're telling you this is how it feels to die. You're dying a little bit every day. And what we can do is that the ocean of energy and aliveness that we had as children has now shrunk to a stream or a river, okay, or a stream. That you need to become more and more sensitive to what you're doing so that you can stay in the middle of the stream. It's no longer an ocean. You no longer have infinite energy, infinite aliveness, but you still have all the aliveness you need. You simply have to these things are kind of like dowsing for energy inside your body. Most people, if you sit on the couch, watch cartoons, and eat popcorn, you still feel pretty much the way you did when you were 7 years old.
How do you know that's what I do almost every night?
Because that's what I do. Hey, it's Johnny Quest. Where are those screaming yellow zonkers? I love that shit. It takes courage to look directly at your own death, to look directly at the process of aging and say, I will use this to motivate me to make meaning of my life. What did I do today? You know what Brendan Bouchard says every night when he goes to sleep, he asks himself, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? Things like the Tibetans say, okay, my hips won't let me do it, my shoulders won't let me do it, this, that, and that. So one sort of person would say, well, then I can't do anything. Another sort of person would say, well, let me find a different kind of activity. That's fine. My kind of person, the person who literally is doing the kind of thing I would do, would be, I believe that if I could do the 5 Tibetans, could do 21 repetitions of each of them, my body would be pretty solid and healthy. I will go to a chiropractor. I will go here. I will go there. I will go to a yoga teacher. Help me carefully work my way up to 21 repetitions. What is stopping me? I've got these impingements here. I've got these here. Kids can do it. Somewhere along the line, you lost your ability to do it. Can you get it back? So it becomes kind of like a game. Just can I do this? I can do 2 Tibetans. So I'm going to do 2 Tibetans 5 times a day. Okay, I'm never going to go over the amount I can do. In fact, if you can do 5, that means you could do 3 Tibetans multiple times in the day and it'll be just fine. And in the process of doing that, you are literally, most people think about exercise as putting their body on a hamster wheel. If instead of that, you're saying, I want to learn how to operate my body. See, lack of flexibility is not a matter of stretching your body. It's a matter of learning how to de-inhibit your Golgi tendon organs. It is coordination and neurology, not physiology. It is not, people who say, I can't do yoga, I'm not that flexible, are 100% missing what yoga is. The same thing could be said about any kind of exercise. I want to learn how to operate my body so that I can do this thing, because I believe that if I could do this thing, I would be operating in the way that I want to operate. And by the way, my body would also look the way I would like it to look. I like looking at myself naked in the mirror and liking what I see. I like feeling that I am being the best that I can be to give as a gift to my lover. I like feeling that I am strong and I want to be an example of conscious aging for my family. I like feeling I am strong and my son is proud of me. This young warrior son of mine is proud of his father because his father is still strong and healthy. Whatever it takes to motivate yourself, use it. The 5 Tibetans enable me at a distance to coach you. All you have to do is say, I can do 5 of them. I say, oh, okay, I know where you are. That's just all a way of saying, great. Is there anything I can do to help you, to assist you?
No, just as I keep coming here, and this is my weekly reminder to keep me going and keep me pushing, even if I get those days where it's like I just can't, and it's like, no, try again.
Well, on those days, be sure you know what your minimums are.
Yeah.
Your minimum might be 1 line of writing, 2 Tibetans, and your 5-minute miracle breathing, focusing on gratitude and an open and loving heart. It takes very, very little time. If you know that that's your minimum, and if you've done your minimum, you're still on the path, then you can forgive yourself. We all have days when we just don't feel like doing it. If there is a tiny little bit, it takes me no more than 5 minutes out of 24 hours to write my sentence, do 2 Tibetans, and to breathe. I can do all of that in just 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. If you're not doing that, then you know that there is a disconnect that is emotional rather than a matter of how busy you got. And then you can look at that question, and what you're looking at there is a version of the same thing that has stopped you from accomplishing anything that's ever stopped you. See, because if you know yourself and you know the world, you will never have a goal that you cannot reach, because you wouldn't bother. I know I can't do that. I know the world, so I know what it would cost. I know myself, so I know what I can pay. If I decide to pay it, I'm going to be able to do it. If you had perfect knowledge. Of course, none of us have perfect knowledge, but still, it's a useful framework. Knowing yourself means knowing how to motivate yourself. Knowing yourself means knowing what stops you. What is it that stands in your way? How do you sabotage yourself? These are critical things to understand. And those understandings also give you the fertilizer for your art, because you're understanding your own nature. You're you're the only human being you're ever going to know, and you're never going to know you completely, because at least partially because you don't exist. You're an ego construct, but you can attempt to pierce that veil. What am I? I'm not black or white. I'm not male or female. I'm not young or old. I am some essence that is manifesting in these ways. Who am I? Who am I? That question never gets old. So in terms of this stuff, just keep asking yourself, who am I? Who is Alexander Adams? In the matter of this, who am I? In the matter of this, who am I? It is a truly valid path of inquiry, and all world religions and philosophies have approaches to it. Find one that touches your heart and follow that path as far as you can go. All right. Take care, buddy. We have 6 minutes. Who has Ross Merker? Ross?
Yes.
So, talk to us a little bit. How are you doing today, buddy?
I am well, sir. I have been having quite a bit of fun with what I've been doing.
Yeah,
Took some time to read a book here not terribly long ago, and would be open to discussing if you would
What was the
like.
book?
Your magic book.
Oh, sure. Why don't you ask me a question concerning it or make a request about it? You know, it's just, I have no problem with making that discussion here.
Well, no, it just the slightest caveat that it will show you stuff that you brought to it that you might not be aware you brought to it.
Can you give me a for instance?
Well, in the appendix where you're coming from your journals around your experience with the Kadoshka class.
Mm-hmm. Talking to the
and
tree.
Yeah, that's exactly the exercise. And I don't know if it was a matter of timing or a lack of preparation, but I wasn't ready for the personal wall I hit when I read it. I damn near broke. I did break down. It was almost a scary level of breakdown concerning
So
my own.
step out of yourself for a second. You're sitting in a movie audience and you're watching yourself break down on the screen. What do you think is happening inside that person?
A whole lot of unresolved pain.
Why did that particular story trigger that?
Empathy?
I'm going to make a guess. That story is about the cost of maintaining a false self-image. That story is about the weight that we carry trying to make people happy, being someone other than who it is that we actually are. And that we cannot both please other people or seek to please other people at the cost of ourselves. We can't carry a mask and move forward with the speed that we need. That the energy we need to become who we're going to be cannot be invested in maintaining an artificial mask. However scary it is, you have to take the energy you put into the mask and put that into living your life and being authentic. I would guess that it has something to do with that, Ross.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, breathe. That's all I can say. That's, you know, what's in that book is at the end of that's at the end of the book for a reason. You know, that what you need to do is to process the energy that you invested in creating the mask, and ask yourself, if you're not your mask, if you're not your illusions, if you're not the voices in your head, if you're not people's image of you, who are you? Because just maybe who you really are is everything you've always been looking for. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, what if you're enough, Ross? What if you really are? You don't have to pretend to be somebody else. You don't have to get ahead of yourself. Just be who you are, where you are, right now, one day, one moment at a time. What if that's the truth? What if that's the truth, Ross?
I don't know.
Okay. If you don't know, then that's the next question for you to answer. What if it's true that you're enough? And in your meditations and in your journaling, asking yourself, what if it's true, will set you free. You're a good man, Ross. I have watched you for years now. And I have no doubts that if my child was in trouble, you would protect them. No doubt. You absolutely would, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
The rest is just details. Your heart is right. You have the capacity to protect and to be. I am grateful to you for sharing that with us. And like I said to the group, I would really like for you to get a copy of the book. You can get it at www.realheroesjourney.com. If you cannot afford the $20 for the copy, send me an email, explain your situation, and I will be happy to send you a free copy. This is not about.
Do please get it either way, because I want people to talk about it with.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Okay, we're at the end here. So thank you very much, Ross. I need to, I'm going to go golfing with my daughter, just go do virtual mini golf with my daughter in just a few minutes. I am always so happy to be here. I would like you to unmute yourselves and to say goodbye to everybody. Remember that next week we'll be doing this at a slightly different time. So take a look at your emails and we will, I'll be traveling with my wife. She gets another one of her awards, and so I need to take care of her, and I need to take care of you at the same time. So we will be in touch. Unmute yourselves and say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you, Steve. This was wonderful.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Take
Very
care,
helpful.
everybody.
Okay, you take care, and remember always that the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Take care.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.